back with Bobby and JG Radio. We're speaking with Scholl Schwartz and Associates. We have Jeff Jackson here. So let's jump right back into this, Jeff. So tell us about wealth transferring and what it is and how you're helping people with that.
Okay, our wealth transfer planning group, essentially what that is succession planning is and getting generational wealth from generation 1 to generation 2. You know,
right.
Mom and dad have a ranch, you know,
Sure.
and they want to transfer that to the kids, and they want to do that in the most efficient manner that they can.
Sure.
So there's strategies that we can use to get that transferred now or transferred later, or make sure the wheels are in place and make sure everything is proper and how their planning is and where they want their assets to end up. Because
Sure.
because if you don't plan properly, Uncle Sam is going to be one of your biggest heirs.
For sure.
At 40%.
Wow.
Because that's the tax rate. Saying that, though, everybody has if you died in 2015, you have $5.43 million that you can pass to your heirs tax-free. So that means a couple has
So you're
10
good,
million.
Bob.
I'm in trouble.
Yeah. Here's some planning that needs to be done. So a couple has 10.86 million. So it really is kind of it drops 90% of the population out of having to worry about this estate tax. So
Right.
it gets a lot of press, it gets a lot of information, but it really doesn't touch all that many people. But the people it does touch happen to be our clients. So there's a lot of planning that can be done with that. And so there's different strategies and things like that we can use to make sure that it's efficient, that at the lowest cost that we can do it for the client and things like that to make sure what's going to happen. You know, there's estates to where, you know, dad started a business. Well, son helps run the business. Daughter has nothing to do with it. Well, how do you equalize those?
Right.
You know, when dad passes away, those types of
Arm
things.
wrestle.
So, yeah, exactly. So you have to try to find ways to make that fair or equitable or whatever the client wants. And that's the hard part.
I have a question. So you said if somebody doesn't plan well, they're going to get taxed at 40% by Uncle Sam. How about somebody that does plan and does do all the proper steps or whatever they have to do with you guys? What can they expect from 40% if you plan correct?
Well, if let's just say that you have an asset that's worth $20 million, you know, and we can do some planning right now because you know you want that to end up with your kids. We can plan right now and we can freeze that value at $20 million while you're still running the company. Just say it's an operating business, and that company then grows to $40 million. Well, that $20 million worth of appreciation you've taken out of the parent's estate because you've already planned for it. You know, so that boom, there's $8 million right there.
Right.
That you saved that family by doing proactive planning and still waiting until dad dies.
Right.
So it's kind of a proactive and making sure that the assets are going to end up where you want the assets to end up. You know, a lot of times the generation 1, you know, the parents want to keep control. So there's ways that we can do that. You know, with a limited partnership, you can put things into a limited partnership where a general partner controls that so that the parents can still control what happens with all of the assets.
Right.
So they really like that
Sure.
because they're still in control of 100% even though they don't own 100%.
Right.
So there's things that you can do in that. You know, so, you know, there's sales to defective trust. There's, you know, all kinds of acronyms. We love acronyms in the accounting business. So GRATs and FLIPs and IDGITs and all of those that we throw around. Nobody else has any idea what we're talking about.
I don't right now. Yeah.
Like family limited partnerships, you know, we call FLIPs. In a family limited partnership, normally what happens is, you know, mom and dad have accumulated wealth. They can put those assets into a partnership to where you can centralize the management. You can kind of insulate your kids from divorce, things like that,
Right.
to where the assets are held in an entity and then they can give away that entity. Well, you don't have any rights to any control over the assets that are held in that entity, but you have the asset of the partnership.
Right.
So there could be, you know, land, there can be stocks, bonds, you know, business, whatever.
All in
and
that
there's-
entity.
In the entity.
So if my son, you know, if I had a bunch of assets like this, and so my fear was my son was going to go and then get divorced, and then I'm going to lose, and I guess a fourth of my business. This kind of doesn't allow that to happen.
Correct.
This kind of keeps it. He is part of the entity, or he has some access to the entity, but
Because you have a huge VHS collection.
it's huge.
What's gonna happen with it?
It's vintage. I know that I'm going
Yeah.
to cash out pretty soon. I know
Yeah.
technology is cyclical, so it's going to come back. No, but yeah, but this kind of just relieves all the stress of that for these people.
It does help in the family dynamic part of that, in that, you know, you can control the lineal progression of your assets passing.
Right.
So from that standpoint, a lot of people like that, and just again, they're still in control of what they have, and that's a big factor for a lot of folks.
To be in control.
Even though they don't own 100% of it, they control 100% of it.
Right.
So that way, they're making the decision. So if you own a piece of a partnership that has 4 rental properties,
right.
Well, you really have no voting rights as a limited partner on what's going on any of those properties.
Right.
The general partner could sell one if he wants to, and you go, that's a bad idea. Doesn't matter. The general partner controls.
Right.
But you own a piece of that. So whatever gain, you're going to get your piece of that gain allocated to you as a limited partner.
Once it sells.
Once it sells, correct. So that's one way that we can transfer those things and make sure that depreciation, especially now, where we're running into, the Eagle Ford Shale down
right.
south. There's a lot of folks down there that have a lot of money now,
right.
that before they were scraping by to farm that land.
Mm-hmm.
And so now what do you do with it?
Right.
What's the value of it? It's really hard to value those assets. So getting a value on that and trying to spread the money around to where you can help your heirs, kids, grandkids, great grandkids. You can set up trusts that go for generations.
That's awesome.
And help with planning all of that.
Sure. So now we talked about Eagle Ford Shale and medical practices. Sol Schwartz works with a tremendous amount of diversity in businesses. If you want some more information from them or about them, you go call them directly at 210-384-8000, and that's 210-384-8000. This is Bobby and JT Radio.